And good morning, everybody. Welcome into another edition of the Pattison Sports Show. I'm your host, James Scorza, with you, and with me, as always, is a group of companions on a busy, I guess you can say, midpoint of the Phillies season to talk about more than anything. Joey Marks joining me like he always does on this very important Saturday. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, James. Good morning, Philadelphia. Happy Saturday. And listen, why am I in a happy mood? Because the Phillies are going to be on a break. And I think we all need one at this point
Yeah, we're
because
definitely going to need it.
it's been an up and down roller coaster and not the good kind that you like going on.
Hmm.
It's more the herky jerky kind of roller coaster, the one
Yeah.
that makes your neck and back feel sore when you get off of it. But
And
we're gonna
nauseous at the same time, too.
yeah, it makes you feel like that hot dog is not necessarily going to stay with you much longer.
No.
Um, so we're gonna dive right into it with the Phillies, and we're gonna dive right into it by talking about the last 10 games. For the Phillies, you had the Padres game last night. They lost 4-2. We'll kind of dive deeper into that in a minute. Then they had the series prior to that with the San Francisco Giants, which they lost the series 2-3, and then they had the series with the Reds and again with the Padres at CBP. James, I'm going to start with you. This team in the last 10 games, it's kind of like a microcosm of what this team has been like the whole season long. Very herky jerky. You're waiting. You feel like you're singing the Eminem song, "Will the Real Phillies Please Stand Up?" Like I'm not entirely sure I can give you the straight answer of what this team is because I don't know if they know what this team is because it's just been very sporadic. So out of the last 10 games, what's been your impression of this Philadelphia Phillies team?
It's probably one of those things. Before I get my answer here, Mitch Kovsky checks in and says good morning to us. So check
Good
out
morning.
Mitch Kovsky's show every week on Fly Like an Eagle. We're gonna take a week off on this coming week on this Friday, but also like on Hardcore Sports Network and also on Stream Podcast Entertainment. Hit that like and subscribe button on your YouTube platforms and also on your social media platforms. But back to your question though, the question like that I was gonna say to this point is that they've just been inconsistent all year. I mean, you think about it. I mean, there's times when they look like they know they actually feel like they play a good game of baseball. Like a couple of days ago against the Giants, they have like a 13-0 win up at Oracle Park, and I'm thinking, okay, now the wheels are in motion. Now things are starting to look better. And then they give another bad clunker last night, like the Padres had last night, and Suarez didn't have his stuff. But overall, like the last couple weeks have been a real have its fair share of obstacles along the way. The Padres series was they took 2 out of 3 from the Padres. It was good to see that. I thought it was a good positive series to go into that Red series. The first game of that Fourth of July game, it was shaky because it was a busy day for our independents, obviously. But they came back in those 2 games on that Saturday and also that Sunday, and they played well. I thought they played okay. And then they got shell shocked again when they went to San Francisco, and it feels like we always can never win in San Francisco for the most important part.
Mhm.
I think that's going to be the one thing that stuck out to me the most this week was like regardless of what the record was, is like even if they had like a great record, they still couldn't be. It's probably something about that altitude in San Francisco by the Cubby. It's like something in that water is just completely toxic up there. I'm not even gonna kid you, but but overall, yeah, I mean, it was a decent amount of games that they had overall, but I wish they could have done better. But overall, man, I mean, it was just I mean, it's something that we probably need to take the break from is because it's like you either like you want to like ride or die with this team at the same time, but at the same time too you have to look at it too as say like probably that All Star break is probably desperately needed for this team to finally get a recharge more than anything, Joe.
Yeah, and like that's the thing for me. With this team, it's like I said, this last 10 games have been kind of a microcosm of the whole season.
Sure.
5-5 in the last 10 games, very mediocre. And it doesn't feel like, when they won the series with the Padres and they won the series with the Reds,
Mm-hmm.
started to think, okay, they're back on this trend. Because at one point in time in this season, they had won 6 or 7 series in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you may win 2 games and lose one, you'll take a series win overall.
Right.
But so when they won those 2 series at home, I thought, okay, you got 2 more series before the All-Star break. You
Right.
win those 2 series, and we go in hot going into the All-Star break. Now,
Sure.
they could still win the series with San Diego this weekend. However, the idea that they went into the Giants and lost, and you're absolutely right. I think I heard the stat that they are 30 game lifetime. The team is 30 games under 500 at Oracle Park. And
Yeah.
so, like, that is astounding. It's like one of um, the worst places for us to play
It
uh,
is.
as far as records are concerned. So you got to also kind of hope, that being said, that we don't meet the Giants in the playoffs, because
Mm-hmm.
that could be a real house of horrors. We talk about
Yeah.
how
Deja vu, like 2010, right?
right. We talk about the idea that this team could be a wild card team. Okay,
Yeah.
so could the Giants. And that being said,
Mm-hmm.
we may still have home field advantage, but I mean, and that's great. That would be how we get away with it. But the other part of it is, what happens if we go and face them in the DS or something like that, or the CS? That could really be spell trouble. Now, look,
Yeah.
the Giants are far away from me believing that they're going to make it to the DS or the CS in any regard. But you never know. I mean, the Mets made it to the CS last year. So there's that perspective. Um with the last 10 games, especially last night, like Ranger had a streak of like 5 or 6 games where he was really pitching lights out. And
Mm-hmm.
like a week or two ago, I said, I'm not entirely sold on you know trading Ranger Suarez,
Right.
because are you going to give up an arm that right now is pitching out of his mind? And last night proved to me that this guy could come down to earth. And that's what makes me. And I remember last year that after the All Star break, Rangers' numbers like dipped dramatically.
Yeah.
So my feeling is, this is where I think Dave Dombrowski has to cut bait. And we're going to talk about that a little later. But yeah, I feel like the last 10 games have been a microcosm of the first half of the season. But speaking of, let's talk about the first half of the season.
Sure.
So, this team, despite our, you know, issues with it, is still one of the top 5 teams in the majors. Kudos to them. My question to you, James, is, does their record genuinely, in your mind, genuinely reflect who this team really is?
And, I talked about it before, but I kind of shoehorned it a couple times just to think about like what the team is like. But overall, it's a little bit of a mixture of like, I don't know if this was expected or if this was like where we're supposed to be at this point, because I'm thinking like, honestly, I came into this season, I didn't see a lot of expectations with this team. After last year's disappointment of losing in the Mets and the NLDS, and I'm thinking this would have been probably a step back. But then some of the games they played, they're like, oh, okay, they look like they actually know a thing or two about playing the game of baseball, like I brought up in my opening segment.
Right.
But overall, I mean, the thing that drives me crazy about this team, Joe, it's just that one game they look great, and in 1 minute they just forget how to play baseball. I mean, it's like you mentioned, it's like a roller coaster that goes upside down like 500 times, and then you're nauseous, and then you're like hurling from like the dehydration or like the food poisoning, like after you just got done eating and you ate when you went on that roller coaster too.
Right.
But most importantly too, the thing I think at this point now, I guess we can finally say that this is expected of this team, of what they're supposed to be like. I mean, if they can come out in at the end of the All Star break and just go on a tear like they did back in 2022 when they just were unstoppable. I mean, it took time for the Phillies to get back to where they were. I mean, it took until the last week of the season to finally realize, yeah, this team could be a World Series contender. Not one away from capturing a World Series, but overall, I mean, that's what kind of a feel I need to have with this team back again. Is that I want to have that feel of that. Yeah, I mean, there's games that are going to be a twist and turn, but when playoffs come around, like that place is going to be jumping. Red October is going to be in full force, and I hope that will be the same here to this year. But overall, I mean, that's why I said if it's kind of expected with this team, is because I don't know which team is going to show up anymore. Not anymore, but more what's going to show up at every single game going in, especially when we get ready for that second half of the season too. More than anything.
Yeah, and like that's the part of this that just kind of confounds me a little bit is
Mm-hmm.
that, I look at the standings and I go, okay, they're in good position.
Right.
Not great, but good. And you got to think when you look at how they've played and you look at like watch the games and you go into each game and you're like, oh boy, like it's that kind of game. It's going to be
Yep.
that kind of game.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, like, when you walk into a game and you have that perspective of this year's Phillies, but then you take a long range view of things and see the record that they have, you go, okay, how does that team match up to that team? How does the team that's on the field match up to the team's record? And most people would say, oh, because they haven't played a lot of, good teams. But that's
Right.
not true. They played the Dodgers, they played the Padres. Padres are in the race. Giants are in the race. Cincinnati's in the race. The Cubs are in the race. They've played quality teams. The difference is that in my mind, they've actually had good wins this first half of the season.
Right.
I would actually grade them a B for the
Mm.
first half of the season, even though they've drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it's like I love this team because I have faith in this team because of the record and because they're pulling out good quality wins. Okay, you have me in that. But this is where I worry as a Philadelphia fan. And maybe it's the years of having gone through it
Right.
all this time. You get your hopes in. Like they pull you in, right? And then they
They
pull the
pull me
carpet away.
back in.
They pull you in and then they pull the carpet out from underneath you and like, what the hell? Like I was so like invested and I'm still invested. Like unlike our El Capitan, Mitch Kovsky, I believe this team is a playoff team, Mitch. I believe this team is a playoff team. I also believe this team could be a World Series contender. I do. Now that doesn't go without saying that it's going to be like a cardiac arrest to get there
Ooh,
because I'm going to be
too
like
soon, man.
I'm like, but here's my thing. I'm
You're
gonna
not
be
wrong though, man. You're not wrong.
right. I'm gonna be like this, like gripping onto a pillow
Mm-hmm.
and like about to pull it like Hulk Hogan with his shirt off back in the 80s. Like
Right.
I it's like that. But my faith in what this team has so far and has accomplished gives me that confidence that they have the potential to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my feeling is the second half of the season, they have to not only sustain what role they've been on up to this point, but they have to also create more consistency. And I think that's one of the words that we're kind of talking about underneath it all is the level of consistency. You brought it up earlier. You had a good win with Cincinnati. You
Right,
came off two good series wins at home against San Diego and Cincinnati. You
right.
go to San Francisco, and yes, it's a house of horrors, but you basically laid down for at least two games in San Francisco.
Yep.
And that's just not good enough. And I get it. You had Tywin Walker on the mound for one, and but Tywin only didn't let up many runs in that game.
It was the bullpen more than anything.
Right. And like this is where we're gonna transition into our next topic, which is the
Um,
go ahead.
before we go any further, we have a couple comments here
Go
just to
ahead.
chime in.
Let's
So,
go.
so we got halftime joins us and says good morning to everybody. Says
Good
what's
morning.
up. So check out his show along with Mitch Kovsky right after this show's over here on Hardcore Sports Network. Immediately after this show is over, so around like 10 o'clock or so. So, but he also says he doesn't have faith. He doesn't have faith in Rob Thompson for. I mean, that's the other thing too. You know, in a way, there's some of the times I actually say the same thing halftime says in regards of trusting him, because you think about it. A couple days ago, that inside the Parker 3-1 homer that Jordan Romano got, that he gave up, right? And I said to
A-
myself,
Andrew Bailey, I think it was.
it was Patrick Bailey,
Patrick Bailey.
and I said to myself was, you had a pitcher already in on the max that he could have pitched one more inning if he could have. But at the same time, it's like Jordan Romano can slip up at any time, at any place, anytime, anywhere, like D-Generation X would say. But the difference is that why wasn't Orion Kerkering like ready to go for that game? I mean, even if he pitched, I mean I think that was the same game that the umpire, like Phil Cuzzy, was a complete ass, making a complete ass of himself, and he didn't like. I heard about it all week. That
Hmm.
he didn't like go out to the mound and charge the mound about all those strikes that would have been called, like how we brought up a few weeks ago, or actually a couple weeks ago, about Larry Boa having his back for his players, and I kind of felt like I wanted to have that same kind of firepower that Charlie Emmanuel and Larry Boa had too, but at the same time, it's just like Thompson was like he looked like he was angry at the same time, but you had to be like really like if this was like old school manager mentality, like you had to charge them out and say, like you just screwed us over with a couple strikes here and there, and now you're gonna hear about it. Like become a like put your foot down once in a while and say, like this is not acceptable. I mean the way like he brought it, the way he like owned out to be, the way it owned out to be, it was like it's not like it was expected that he didn't say anything, but I wish he could have done more than anything. So I'm kind of like in the same boat as a halftime on this one. That sometimes I don't trust Topper more than anything. Gonna
Hmm.
admit.
Yeah, for me, I do only because I've seen. Yeah, okay. So I first off, I want to say I do trust Topper. Now,
That's fair.
the second part of that, to be clear, because some people are like, really, like listen to what James just said. But there was an interview back in 2022
Mm-hmm.
that Anthony Gargano had with Charlie Manuel,
Mm-hmm.
and Anthony asked Charlie, like, did you ever feel like the decisions you made were always high? How did you make the tough decisions knowing you were going to be scrutinized if they didn't work out? He's like, look, Charlie responded by saying, look, the decisions that you make as a manager, especially in this city with these fans,
Mm-hmm.
is always going to be highly scrutinized. Now, if it works, like in '08, he made some questionable decisions, but they worked.
Yeah.
You will get praised. You will get raised up on shoulders and paraded around. But if it doesn't, you will be ripped from ear hole to asshole in this city, and
That's for
th-
sure.
that is that is very true. Like, here's the thing: Rob Thompson has done something that hasn't been done since Charlie Emanuel. Has taken the Phillies back to playoffs 3 consecutive years.
Hmm.
That is something that we all are. I think as Phillies fans, get spoiled with the idea that you know, like Mitch has said, "Oh, well, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs."
Mm.
I don't understand that basis in which he feels that way because if you look at the record, if you look at like the remaining schedule, if you look at like how they've been playing, because you can't just say, "Okay, they played down to the good teams." So for all the good teams that are left on their record, on their schedule for the rest of the season, they're probably bound to lose those games. You
Mm.
can't say
Right.
that with the performances they've had the season the first half of the season. That being said, like if they make the playoffs, when they make the playoffs this year, that this is 4 straight seasons they made the playoffs. And
Hmm.
so like that in all essence, you can't just take that for granted as a Phillies fan because you got to remember the doldrums we dealt with between 2010, 2011, and 2022. That was like 11 years of not making the playoffs.
Hmm.
That is and look, have there been longer droughts? Yes. But still, 11 years is a long time. And now you're in it, you're in the thick of it for the last 4 years seemingly.
Hmm.
This is not just because of the players. This is, you can have great players and still have a manager that doesn't know how to piece it together. Explain the Atlanta Braves.
Hmm.
Yeah, they have
Good point.
most of their guys back now that basically they won a World Series with. Yet they're 11 games under 500. This is a team that you can have a good team, but if the manager doesn't know how to do it and manage the right way, then all is lost. You're the Atlanta Braves. You're the Dodgers from back in the day with Adrian Gonzalez and whatnot, and all those high priced athletes that
Yeah.
they thought we have the roster. Much like they thought they had the roster back then that they truly have now.
Hmm.
With Adrian Gonzalez and Turner and Freddie Freeman and some of these other guys like that have come along and have been there since. Like they thought they had the roster. They just didn't have the pieces together. The players didn't have the pieces together to put it together on the field.
Yeah, and halftime checks in. It says, and also I'll show you Mitch Kovsky's comment right after this one too. So he says the Phillies spent all this money on these players. They should be a playoff team, which I do agree that if you come down and you get all that talent, you definitely got to make the
Right.
postseason. And also, I got one more here from halftime too. So he says Rob Thompson does not know how to use the pitchers. He don't know when to pour pitcher, and he don't know how to use a bullpen right too. So that's kind of like to the point to what you're trying to say at the same time.
Well, this is how I will respond to the bullpen,
Okay,
and how like Rob Thompson doesn't need to know how to use the bullpen.
sure.
How do you use this bullpen? How? Like someone tell me
I
who
don't
is
know,
a
dude.
lights out pitcher in that bullpen right now?
I wouldn't know, brother.
Right. Who do you depend on? I don't have anybody. I don't have one pitcher in that bullpen that I can completely depend on. So if I don't feel that way, how do you think Rob Thompson feels? That's the ingredients he's given. He's given a
Yeah.
Ryan Kirkland. He's given a Jordan Romano. He's given a guy a Lazard. He's given a Joe Ross. He's given these very sub-adequate arms in the bullpen, and he's asked to make a masterpiece out of those bullpen arms.
Hmm.
And it's not fair to sit there and judge Rob Thompson's job with the lack of talent that Philly halftime's right. We are paying a lot of guys in the lineup to get to the playoffs and beyond.
Hmm.
Fully understand, fully agree with that.
No debate there. And
But
the
we
thing,
don't have a bullpen piece to put together.
yeah. And the other thing too, Mitch Kopsky's like with your debate with, he says like one that the Phillies will make the playoffs, and like obviously you're fully on board with this Phillies team. He also says if, but he says if with a capital. He says if the Phillies make the playoffs, they will be one and done. So he's still standing by the thorn of that too. So I'll let you take the helm on that because
Well,
I have
well,
no idea what this
well.
means. I mean, look, if you guys like if they make the playoffs and make a World Series out of it, Mazel Tov, you know. But at the same time, too, I'm skeptical. I'm on kind of like on your side too, Joe, and I'm on Mitch's side. So I'm like having that balance. Like I'm trying to break even. Like I'm Jerry Seinfeld here.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, I mean,
Well,
it's gonna
Mi-
we'll figure it out too. But go ahead.
Mitch, come down on a side. If you're gonna come down on a side that they're gonna make the playoffs, then come on that side. If they're a one and done, come down on that side. If you think they're not gonna make the playoffs, then just stick to it. Don't start, wavering now. If they make the playoffs, no, it's gonna be when they make the playoffs. It's
Right.
not if. Like this team would have to go through an epic collapse in order not to. I mean, this is a team that's going toe to toe with the Mets in the division. You win the division, you're in. Like that's not a question mark. But the idea that and I do feel like we are going to win the division, and I do feel like the Mets are going to inevitably start to met and kind of fall apart. That being said, you know the Phillies haven't given you any reason up to this point
Mm-hmm.
to disbelieve that they are not capable of making the playoffs. They just
Right.
haven't given you that because, in my perspective, they have pulled out wins over teams that were supposedly untouchable. You got to remember, we handed the Dodgers their first loss of the season.
Mm-hmm.
They were rolling into Philly, and they were quote unquote tagged as the unstoppable Dodgers, and we basically derailed that train.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I really don't want it to be misconstrued. Do I think this team needs to improve? Yes. Do I think this team's a playoff team? Yes. Do I think they're a one and done team? No. Because I don't believe I believe in a short series this team is the strongest team in the majors
Mm-hmm.
because of the amount of depth they have on their starting pitching. I can tell you this now. I tell you that I don't believe in any one of those bullpen arms, but I believe in every one of those starting pitchers.
Yeah.
That's the difference is that I believe in the starting pitchers, but the bullpen, I like when Zach Wheeler went like the complete game. I'm like, whew, okay. Starter went the whole game. We didn't have to rely on the bullpen. Great. Like I'm all for that because
Mm-hmm.
someone
Yeah,
was gonna ruin it.
I forgot about that too. Gonna
That
admit that
that
happened after that
that red series.
yeah, that was the end of the Red Series. That's the thing that drives me crazy about it too is that I completely forgot about that because it's been such a rough week for them.
Yes.
Because obviously with with that Giant
Giants
series
series.
and also now with the Padres series, I just said to myself like, oh my god, I forgot that we were almost had perfection, and I just like swept that over the rug, like you said earlier on in the show about sweeping that over the rug without even knowing it. But Mitzkowski also says that the bullpen usually chokes here, but also halftime kind of disagrees with you on some parts. Says that we got swept by the Pirates, but how come everybody doesn't forget about that? But that's a bad losses too. And he also says we are not making no trades. They're trying to make this team better. So I guess like
Well,
I guess he
first off,
disagrees with on that.
first off, with the Pirates series, I'm going to address that first. So the
Mm-hmm.
Pirates are a good team,
Mm.
even though their record doesn't reflect it. And again, this kind of goes back to, how I feel about the Phillies. Like I look at the team and it makes me have a cardiac arrest on the field. But I look at the record and I kind of go, okay, that record tells me they're a really good team.
Right.
The play from time to time makes me feel like they're a good team. But
Mhm.
it's a herky jerky feeling. It's not a confident feeling like it was in 22,
Right.
or even 23. Now that being said, Pittsburgh is a good team. You got Paul Schemes. You got guys that are really good on that team. However, that team has beaten good teams. They beat the Dodgers in a series.
That's
They
fair.
they beat really like the Mets in a series. Like they've beaten better teams than them. And the difference is, for me, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to pinpoint one series out of like 85 to 90 games in the season so far. I'm going
Right.
to pinpoint 3 games that we just stunk it up, because that's going to happen in a 162 game season. Now,
Mhm.
for his, he's kind of segueing me right into my next question.
Hmm.
The trade deadline is approaching in less than 2 weeks.
Hmm.
My feeling is that the Phillies are going to make a significant trade,
Hmm.
because not just Dave Dombrowski thinks, okay, I need to make a big splash to curry favor with the fans, to curry favor with Philly halftime, to
Hmm.
curry favor with Mitchkovsky. Like
Right.
he's not doing it for that. What he's doing is he knows that you got to strike while the iron's hot right now.
Right.
And you got prospects that are at the highest value they've been at for the last 3 years. Mick Abel is at the highest stock value that he's been at.
Mhm.
Justin Crawford, highest stock value. Uh, Aiden Miller, highest stock value. Andrew Painter, highest stock value. Even Otto Kemp is at his highest stock value. And
That's
so
true.
these all are pieces that we can trade to possibly get better now. Now,
Right.
that being said, you don't want to completely deplete your farm system.
Right.
So, my next question to you, James, is this: give me 3 names
Hmm.
that you would have on the chopping block for the trade deadline for the Phillies. Who needs to go? 3 names.
3 names. Okay. Well, I think it might be the obvious that Jordan Romano needs to go. That's a given. No question. But maybe I would go out of my way and say, 3 guys. Man, that's a tough one. Uh, Maybe I'll go with Ranger. Maybe Ranger Suarez will be on the trading block, like you brought up early on in the show. And then I gotta go with. Do I get rid of one of my outfielders for like another outfielder like Stephen Kwan maybe? That because like that's the thing like how much
What
how
you getting in return?
what do you
Like
get in
for
return?
yeah,
Yeah,
like
like
because
what's in it for us? You know?
right. So like you could put these guys on the chopping block, but it's like, okay, if I deplete my
Thank you,
infield,
brother.
am I getting an infielder? If I deplete my pitching, am I getting a pitcher? Like you're talking about Ranger. Like, okay, we don't need another starter, but we do. If you get rid of an arm, you want to bring in another arm.
Right. You
Like
know,
it might be a bullpen arm, but it's still an arm.
well, I'll bring this up here because I know Mitch could probably go back in time and look through his short and say what I said about Stephen Kwan because I said a couple weeks ago, look,
Mhm.
like I didn't expect him to be on the trade block, but then I texted you during the week and I said like, wait a minute, that was what I think that was one of the things I said about Kwan a
Yeah,
couple weeks ago.
ESPN reported it.
Yeah,
Um,
Passon, yeah, Jeff
yeah,
Passon.
and so like, you know, Jim, if you're watching, thank you. But James,
Thank you,
thank you.
Jeffrey.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing is that for Stephen Kwan, and I think when we had this conversation, James,
Mm-hmm.
you asked me the question, would I be okay with Stephen Kwan? And I said, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But
Yeah.
I think the response that I really had was,
How
is
much
it a
you?
like how much are we giving up? Because that
Right.
seems like a very uh like rich, like we would have to give up a lot to get him.
Oh yeah.
Now that being said, at this point, the reports are that you might not.
Hmm.
You like I thought we would have to give up a painter. I think at the time we had the conversation, I thought we would have to give up like a painter and like an Aiden Miller. And now it doesn't seem like that could be the case. Again, going back to my previous point of the stocks are up on certain prospects,
Right.
you might be able to get someone like Stephen Kwan and a what was it,
Class A.
Passe?
Class A. Emmanuel
Passe?
Class A. Yeah.
Passe. And so you might be able to get both of them for someone like a Mick Abel and maybe a JT Crawford, like a Justin Crawford, or and like maybe an Alec Baum or something. Like you
Well,
might be able to get him for something more reasonable. Those two for something more reasonable now.
I was just gonna say I think that's more reasonable too, because you
Yeah.
think about it, because like with Quan and also with Classe, I mean, you can look at it right now. You can probably get rid of Romano and bring in Classe. That's like problem solving. Basically, what halftime says too, that they need a center fielder and a left fielder, and they need bullpen help and a closer. So you think about it right now. So basically, your center fielder, you can probably get rid of Brandon Marsh, and you can bring in Stephen Kwan to move in, and then you could probably move. Quan to left field. You can move. I wouldn't say Brandon Marsh though, but I would probably think maybe somebody in the prospect line, like who's a center fielder that's coming up. There's another one that sticks out to me the most, the left fielder. That depends on the situation. If Quan wants to be in center field, maybe you move Trey Turner to center field. Maybe, and then you bring in like an Aiden Miller in, or you bring in Otto Kemp to stick around for much longer. But more importantly than anything like that, a bullpen piece will actually help out too, and even with Stephen Kwan too. Look, I've seen his highlights, I've seen his stuff. Maybe the Phillies should actually go out there and give an offer that they cannot refuse.
I mean, here's the thing. Stephen Kwan is basically a 300 hitter at his worst. He's a leadoff hitter, and you got to think if you put Stephen Kwan at leadoff, and then you have Kwan, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos,
Sure.
like that's a murderer's row. I don't
Oh
care
yeah.
what you say. That is a murderer's row. But here's where my three names for the chopping block.
Hmm.
And they're much different than yours.
Okay.
Uh, Alec Baum,
Hmm.
Marsh,
Hmm.
and of course Ranger Suarez.
Hmm.
Because I feel like you don't want that guy to walk out the door without you getting some value for, because you're not re-signing him. Like
Right.
like that I think is a given. You're
Right.
not re-signing him. I think when you look at like this upcoming free agency, you're worried more about guys like JT Realmuto and Kyle Schwarber over someone like Ranger Suarez,
Right.
especially when you have guys like Mick Abel, Andrew Painter, that are just waiting in the wings.
Hmm.
Um, whether you have both or one or the other, after the trade deadline, that's up to Dave Dombrowski. Now, that being said, I am for getting a guy like Stephen Kwan, and much like so, what Philly halftime says about the closer and a bullpen piece, I
Hmm.
think that's a one off,
Hmm.
meaning that's one and the same person. You're not getting a bullpen arm and a closer. You're asking for an 82-inch television for $400.
Hmm.
It's not easy to get both for that kind of quality. My feeling is that you're going to get a closer. Orion Kirkring is going to be your setup guy. Come playoffs, you're going to have Taiwan Walker as your long man. You're going to have someone like
Oh
Jordan
God.
Romano that if he's still on the team, he's going to be a middle reliever.
Hmm.
And then you're going to possibly have someone like an Aaron Nola or a Mick Abel or somebody in the bullpen. Christopher Sanchez. It could be somebody from the starting rotation come playoff time because you're not going to have five starters in the playoffs. So
No.
you're going to have a starter go into the bullpen. So they're going to help with Taiwan Walker and the other bullpen pieces. You need a closer. You need a guy who's going to shut the door. Because when this team ordinarily goes into the eighth and ninth innings, they need to have a guy that can be the Brad Lidge, can
Right.
be the guy that we all feel like if he comes in, if we get to him, we're
Just lights
good.
out.
Lights out.
Yep.
So that's the way I feel we should be looking for an outfielder that we can have under control, and it's not just a one-off, but someone with quality and talent. That's why I like Stephen Kwan,
Mm-hmm.
because you look at a couple years ago when we traded to get Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh was a good outfielder, and he came in and was surprising. He wasn't good once he got traded. He was just a throw-in because the real centerpiece of that trade was Syndergaard. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Right. I
so
forgot about
my,
Syndergaard. That's right.
so my feeling was, we got Marsh and he turned things around with his batting. Great. But we need a level of consistency because Marsh is not consistent. Stephen Kwan is.
He
And
really
like
is.
so me for me, he is the certifiable piece. This could be the trade that everyone's looking for. However, when a team knows that you're looking for a trade,
Mm-hmm.
they hold you over the barrel.
Yep.
And I'm just worried that Dave Dombrowski is not willing to raise the stakes high enough when it needs to be raised. And that's going to look when people like halftime and Mitch blame guys like Rob Thompson. I go, he's a chef, he's a good chef, but you got a guy who's the kitchen manager, the owner, that gives you really bad ingredients to cook a really that expects you to cook a really good meal. Like Dave Dombrowski can't just be bargain basement hunting anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to go. I've heard this from everybody, and I'm done hearing about it. Dave, you came here with the accolades that you take the big swings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then take a big swing. Take a big swing. Even if you miss, take a big swing. We are here for you to take a big swing. So take it. Um,
Yeah. No, you're right on point about Dabrowski. I agree. Because here's the thing that drives me crazy about with Dabrowski too. Because like you think about the times that he brought in this talent like the Trey Turners, Kyle Schwarbers, Bryce Harper. Well, no, it's Matt Clintek, that Harper with Harper, but it was still technically Clintek when he was coming into his own. I mean, overall, the one thing I do agree with you on, and I'm with you, is that he needs to make that big swing. I mean, it's just one of those things that he think he knows a thing or two about the game, but he loves the game too much that he thinks he knows a thing or two how to build a franchise. I mean, he got a team to a World Series back in 2012, if you remember. That was like Miguel Cabrera, and that was like he had like a lot of talent on that team. The difference was the Giants got away, but he had that swing. He had that swing that like he like it's just one of those things that really drives me crazy about Dabrowski is that he don't even go for that home run ball. But I mean, sometimes like if they don't get back to you, then at least you tried. You know?
Here's what it reminds me of a little, and this might irritate you,
Hmm.
but because it irritated you at the time.
Hmm.
Dabrowski reminds me of the new norm,
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
like Howie thought he was the smartest guy in the room.
Hmm.
Dave thinks he's the smartest guy in baseball.
Sadly, yeah,
Yeah, and that's the thing.
that's fair.
Sometimes, and look, Howie is kind of come down off that cloud. He's become more of this cerebral kind of general manager in the
He's hitting the
NFL.
home run ball.
Yeah,
He's
right,
hitting the jackpot.
right. And you gotta think about it. Like the guy that Howie is. Look at
Hmm.
like what he's done with re-signing certain players.
Right.
Giving an extension to Lane Johnson, giving an extension to Mailata, giving an extension to AJ Brown. You know, no one thought I think about a year or two ago, no one thought that we would be able to retain two like AJ Brown, Devontae Smith for long term. James, we have them for 4 or 5, like 3 or 4 years right now.
It's incredible.
Both of
Same
them.
with Saquon. Same with Saquon
Right.
Barkley.
So, like, my point is this: no one thought we could hold on to that offense. No
Hmm.
one thought we could hold on to that level of talent. But Howie said, I know what I have. I'm taking the big swing and believing in the player by giving them more money and investing in that now
Hmm.
versus waiting for that time to come.
Sure.
You know, Dave Dombrowski had a chance to re-sign Kyle Schwarber this past offseason and didn't. Extend him, I should say, and didn't. Here's my thing. Will Dave Dombrowski regret that at this coming off season? He possibly could, because now someone like Kyle Schwarber, who may hit 50 home runs, by the way, he hit 30 home runs. He hit his 30th home run last night. He has 30 home runs before the All Star break. He's one away from tying Mike Schmidt's record of 31 before the All Star break.
Hmm.
So that's amazing to be in that class of Philadelphia Phillies. But the idea that, and I said this a week or so ago, as those home run numbers go up for Kyle Schwarber,
Hmm.
so does his price tag.
Hmm.
And Dave Dombrowski is ultimately responsible for if he walks out the door, if Kyle Schwarber walks out the door and doesn't come back next year as a Philadelphia Philly, this town will blame Dave Dombrowski, rightfully so,
Oh my
because
God. Yeah.
Dave had the. But this goes back to he's trying to be the smartest guy in the room when
Right.
he's not. We're
We
good.
got
Go
a
ahead.
we got one more here. Now we got to move on here. I
Yep.
promise you we'll move on here, guys. So halftime checks in one more time and says Rob Thompson doesn't even stick up for his guys when the umpires are making bad calls, and he don't go out there and stick up for the man. Stick up for how you could say that. You know, he can stick up for the guys like he's basically talking about what we talked about earlier on.
I don't disagree with that. I don't. And that does bother me about Rob Thompson. And I explained that to
As
you
to why.
the other day. You know, it does bother me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna put it in no Philadelphia Phillies fan, no Philadelphia sports fan. Whoever wants to hear rational thought, but I'm gonna give it. Uh he if he went out there and argued the call
Mm-hmm.
the other day, the balls and strikes and whatnot. Okay, he's getting tossed number one because you can't argue balls and strikes. That's
At
number
least
one.
he try. At least he'll
Right,
try.
right. But like, here's the other thing: what would that have really accomplished
Hmm.
in the game? What would that have accomplished? Nothing, because the game would have ended the same way. The only thing is one less man in the dugout,
Mm-hmm.
and so that is rational thought. I'm not saying that's how I feel or think because we're Philadelphia sports fans. We don't have rational thought. Like
Right.
that's not in our wheelhouse, but that is the rational thought, at least in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the kind of meat and potatoes of this program. James, the All Star break is coming up, and
Yep.
I wanted to go through and create our um, Philadelphia Phillies, so to speak, all-time All Star team.
Hmm.
So we're going to have 8 position players,
Mm-hmm.
at one for each position. We're not having 4 catchers
Mm-hmm.
or for first baseman or whatever, but
Okay.
we're having 8 position players, 5 starting pitchers, and 3 bullpen pieces, and 1 manager. So
Okay.
we're going to start with the position players, and I'm going
Okay.
to start with catcher. Who all-time Philly would you put as your all-star? So you could pick from any Philly, both past and present, to be on your all-star team. Who's your
Hmm.
catcher?
Hmm. Man, that's a good one. Um, it's a tie between either Dutch, Darren Dalton, or it will be Chooch. But if I have to pick one, I might have to pick with Dalton because like Darren Dalton is a Philly icon in this town. Like the chicks loved him. Like he was a chick magnet without saying he was a chick magnet. So I gotta go with the hot hand. But you know, actually, Mike Remak's a very good one too. This is he checks in and says Bob Boone. So that's a very good one too. So I gotta go with Dutch on this one because like obviously I wasn't. I was gonna say, well, you weren't born in that '93 Phillies team. What do you mean? I'm thinking, well, technically, you can't debate. You can't say Darren Dolan without talking about '93 Phillies team. But overall, that's the one guy I would say. I gotta go with Darren Dalton.
I'm gonna go with the other guy you mentioned. I'm gonna go with Chooch because
Okay.
Chooch for me was just a very like I think like Tom Brady made receivers better. Chooch made pitchers better, and it's hard to make some pitchers better, but like if you can make Joe Blanton better, if you can make Jamie Moyer look like a really good pitcher, no offense, Jamie, but like you can make Jamie Moyer better, you can make Joe Blanton better.
Thanks, Charles. Appreciate it, buddy.
You can make like some of these other guys, Cole Hamels better. I mean, Cole Hamels even has said countless times that like Chooch made him a better pitcher. And so I'm picking Chooch. So let's move on quickly to the first base. Who do you pick as your first baseman?
Ooh. I want to go with Ryan Howard because the big piece was a big portion of that 2006 team and also got him too. So I love Harper. He's my right fielder to me. I always think he's a right fielder to me. I mean, him moving to first base kind of feel like it was something like that. But if I have to pick one, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go with Ryan Howard. I know people are gonna say, well, Ryan Howard wasn't good in prime time when it mattered the most. I mean, but I don't count that as success. I count before his. Jim told me, yeah, Mike Ringwick's another good one. But you're killing it, Mike. You're killing it, man. Jim told me he was a good one. Yeah, you know what? Let's see.
So you're picking Ryan Howard?
Yeah, I gotta go with Ryan Howard on this one. I'm sorry, Mike.
I'm gonna go with John Kruk.
Oh my God! How did I not know that?
John Kruk was my guy.
Yep.
In the '93 series, first baseman. That guy is my first baseman. So so we're gonna move quickly to the second baseman. Who is your second baseman? And I have a gut feeling we're gonna pick the same guy.
It has to be Chase Utley.
Yeah,
right?
yes,
That's obvious. You know what I mean?
It
has to be Chase. Yeah, Kashmir, the Led Zeppelin song.
Oh yeah, and like that's the other smooth silver fox. Like talk about a guy who had
Pete Rose. Yeah,
ladies man. Yeah, Pete Rose is a really good one too. But I'm gonna pick Chase Utley.
Manny Trio. Yeah, forgot about Manny Trio.
So, let's go to shortstop. Who is your shortstop?
Oh man. Well, I gotta go with. Look, I interviewed Kevin Stocker back in that 2002 World Series run, so it was good to know. Hopefully, one day we can chat back chime back in one time and like connect once again because I obviously it was a great conversation I had with him, but I gotta go with J-Roll. I gotta go with Jimmy Rollins. I mean, but maybe if I go one step further, probably in a couple of years I'll say Trey Turner, maybe Bryson Stott.
I'm gonna go with the guy that we just did an episode about, Larry Bowa.
Larry Bowa, there you go, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Larry Bowa, and I think once again we move to the third baseman. I think once again we're gonna both say the same name, Mike Schmidt.
Michael Jack Schmidt.
Because that guy will go down not only as one of the best third basemen in Philly history, but go down in Major League Baseball as one of the best third basemen. What?
I was going to break my balls. I'm going to break your balls and say Pedro Feliz or Greg Dobbs. Wes Helps.
You could combine all of them.
Yeah.
Like, you could combine all of them and it still wouldn't measure up to Mike.
Oh my God, yeah, right.
So
Yes, no, but the greatest of all, the greatest first baseman of all time,
absolutely.
no
So
question.
let's go to now with the outfield. I'll leave it very broad. It will be three outfielders. We won't go left field, right field, center field. We will go just outfielders. So you can name three outfielders.
Hmm.
So name three outfielders to your All-Star team.
Well, this is tough because like the third base, not the third base, left field position. You have like Pat Burrell, you have Greg Luzinski,
Well, I'm
you
not
had.
narrowing it down to that. You can
Oh,
have
oh, okay. I'm sorry.
yeah, you can pick any outfielder you want to fill whatever. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
three outfielders.
Okay, so for me, I gotta go with the bull. I gotta go Greg Luzinski in left field, center field. I mean, you know, I like Victorino, but Aaron Rowan was a guy that was really good when it really mattered the most. When he made that catch at center field, making and basically literally running into a wall without saying running into a wall. Um, man, this is tough. And I like and Victorino was a real good piece in that World Series run in 2008. So I gotta go. If I had to pick one, it's like a heads or tails. It's like which one I want. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Victorino. I'm gonna go with the Flying Hawaiian.
So I'm gonna
We'll take
go.
it. Richie
I
Ashburn. There you go.
I'm gonna
Whitey
go with
and Dick Allen. There you go.
Gary Maddox. I'm going to go with Shane Victorino,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to go with Jason Worth. Because when I watched Jason Worth back when he was with this team, my friend would stay come over and watch the Phillies game every once in a while, and every time Jason Worth was at bat, I always like yelled at the screen, "Don't give him a fastball! Whatever you do, don't give him a fastball!" And as soon as they gave him a fastball, it was out. And I'm
Yep.
like, I told you not to give him a fastball. I don't know
Yeah.
how else to help you. Don't
Yeah.
give him a fastball. But
I think
Gary
we're in.
Matt,
I think we're in
Gary,
the same agreement with Jason Worth here at right field too. So yeah, we're on the
yeah,
same agreement on that.
Gary Maddox was having Gary Maddox and
Shake and
Shane
bake McBride.
Victorino, that is basically like blanketing the outfield with good players. And look, I'm not saying that someone like Bryce Harper doesn't deserve to be on my All-Star team.
Mm-hmm.
But I also look at the idea with those three outfielders that I have, and
Mm-hmm.
most of my team that I have, they're all World Series champions for the most part.
Yeah.
So, Bryce, in order for you to reach my All-Star team, you need to win a ring. Like that is a almost like a prerequisite. Um, let's move to pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move to starting pitchers.
Okay.
Now, you get five. You get a
All
full
right.
rotation.
All right.
Five starting pitchers. Name
Ooh.
some of your starting pitchers on your rotation.
Okay. So for me, uh, first it's Roy Halladay. The late,
Hmm.
uh, Zach Wheeler.
Hmm.
But I think it's probably obvious. Cole Hamels. Jamie Moyer. And my fifth one, I gotta go with maybe Roy Oswald, but I do not know how big of a factor Roy Oswald was when he came here. Maybe when he was still with Houston, but you know what? Maybe I'll go with Brett Myers because he was like a big piece of that in that 2008 World Series after being sent down to the minors and resurrecting his career right after that. So I gotta go with Big Brett.
So I'm gonna go with Doc, Roy
Hmm.
Halladay. I'm gonna go with Kurt Schilling. I'm gonna
Okay.
go with Steve Carlton, Cole Hamels, and I'm gonna go Zach Wheeler.
Wow. You know what? You know what? Actually, let me scratch off Brett Myers and put Lefty on there too.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Lefty was probably, even though I met him and didn't realize I met him.
Yeah, I had
Uh,
a brain fart too right now. Good admit.
I mean, like my dad like went apoplectic because he's like, "Wait, you met Lefty?" I'm like, "What's going on? What's the problem?" And like, it's kind of fitting because next year the All-Star game comes to Philly,
Yeah.
and that's when I met Lefty when they had the Fan Fest. for the last time the All-Star game was here in
Wow,
Philadelphia.
that's pretty cool.
So that is very, very interesting.
That's
Um,
for the bicentennial. That's the
yep,
bicentennial, right?
yeah.
Gotcha.
So let's move to um the three bullpen pieces.
Hmm.
So you get three bullpen arms.
Hmm. So the first one I would say is, I mean, I know I'm going to probably toot my own horn here because I'm at the 2008 World Series run, but that was probably the best bullpen they ever had in 2008 because it was Scott. It was for me. If I got to pick three of them, I got to go with Chad Durbin, Ryan Madsen, Bradledge, or J.C. Romero and Bradledge.
I'm going
Ryan
to
Madsen, J.C. Romero and Bradledge.
I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Tommy Green,
Mm-hmm.
Mitch Williams,
Mitchy Poo.
and I'm going to go with Brad Lidge.
There you
Like
go.
that Lidge. So final piece to our all-star team, the manager.
Hmm.
Yeah, you gotta appoint a manager. There's been a
Hmm.
lot of great managers in
Ooh.
Phillies history. Okay, you
Yep.
gotta pick one. One can lead this team.
Ooh, man, you think about it, it's a tie between Dallas Green and Joey Manuel. That's a tough decision.
Hmm.
So those two managers got the team to a World Series and won it.
Yep.
But if I have to pick one, you know, God, I love Joey. I mean, Joey's a guy that he was like Bernie Pruitt. You'll talk baseball with him. That's the ultimate dream. But just you know, I'm in the same boat as Mike on this one. I'm sorry, Joey. I gotta pick Dallas Green because like Dallas Green is a guy that reminds me. Actually, believe it or not, Vic Fangio has that Dallas Green mentality. How he reminds me of him. So if you ever hear Vic Fangio talk, kind of reminds me of Dallas Green. But yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go with Dallas Green on this one. What about you, Joe?
So I'm gonna go real old school. I'm
Ooh,
gonna go Connie Mack.
ooh,
Because Connie
okay.
Mack, we did you guys will see it later
Paul
on. Me
Owens
and
is a good
James,
one too.
we me and James did a Philly Fame Legends episode about Connie Mack, and there was some real surprises of what I found out about him. First off, he was a man's man, very gritty, catcher with that caught without a catcher's mitt or without any protection, literally just squatted down and caught the pitcher. Number two, he was a manager for 50 years.
Hmm.
And that's just absurd. That's just crazy. And the fact that he did it in a full suit
Mm-hmm.
in Philadelphia with humid weather in the Northeast. I mean, that dude's got guts or stupidity. I can't figure out which. But the idea, God bless him and God rest his soul. But here's my thing: for anyone to be able to have coached the Whiz Kids, who had, kind of, done so much that they named the freaking ballpark after him. I got to go Connie Mack.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, and we got another one here. So, I thought Mike Green says I thought Connie Mack was the A's manager, not the Phillies. So,
so there's one more thing to kind of name for our All Star team.
okay.
So out of the players you named,
Mm-hmm.
you got to name a captain.
Oh, a captain. Okay. Ooh, man. Let's see. I think I would say Darren Dalton. Darren Dalton has to be a captain because you think about like what he did in that '93 World Series and also what he did. Became an icon right after that. Tragically lost his life to cancer. So for
Yeah.
me, but yeah, I think Darren Dalton has to be the captain of that team because unlike it's the same thing with Shoots. They knew how to make the pitchers around them better. Like he knew how to locate the pitch when it was needed to. Like he was like the quarterback of the of the defense without saying he's the quarterback. So for me, I gotta go with Dutch on this one.
So I'm gonna go with Larry Boa, and the reason why I go with Boa is because he's a baseball guy, and
That's true.
he loves the game. He understands the game. He understands his teammates, and like that's the thing is like he's not the guy that had the flashy stats, but he was the guy that basically, um, set the tempo for what his team could do by the knowledge in his head.
Yeah.
That was proven when he became manager. Like that's one of the reasons why I think okay, you have a good manager like Connie Mack on the bench, and you have a manager on the field that can lead the team in Larry Boa. So Larry Boa is my captain of my Phillies All Star team. So to wrap up for this episode, I wanted to get your impression,
Mm.
and your kind of expectation for this Phillies team going forward for the second half of the season. Not only I'm going to ask you, do you think how far do you think they can go, but how good do you think they can still be? Meaning record or record and potential wise.
Um, you know, I'm still at the point that the Phillies will probably get to 92 wins if that's the case. Maybe 91, close to 92. For me, it's all going to come down to one thing in this next month. What's the bullpen going to be like? That's going to be the biggest key. I mean, that's going to be my X factor going into the season, into the next handful of months here. Because you think about the starting pitching. The starting pitching is fine. The hitting will get back to close to being back to normal eventually. But the bullpen is going to be the biggest X factor going into that after when they get ready for the upcoming, not the upcoming season. I mean, we've been playing for this for like a long time. So, yeah, for me, I got to go with the. I gotta say the bullpen's gonna be the big X factor going in. The one thing I'm not looking forward to seeing, but at the same time, I will be anxious to see what they'll look like, especially in the later months when Jose Alvarado comes back, and let alone what they'll do in the after effect after he is not supposed to be in the. I know he's not supposed to be going to be. He's not going to be on that postseason roster when the time calls for it. But more than anything like that, I'm going to say right now.
Do you think that Alvarado? I mean, this is not something that we've talked about because I honestly think that that 80 game suspension, it's kind of let him and let what he's done kind of fall by the wayside kind of thing. It's kind of fallen into the mix of the other news stories. My question now that we get closer to him coming back, like you mentioned,
Sure.
my question is, do you think he'll be welcomed back with open arms?
I think he would. I think they'll open him and open arms and try to make him come back with a positive note. But at the same time, too, it's that I worry about is that if the Phillies get to the postseason and they get back to the, I mean, this is the thing that drives me crazy about it too, with the 80 game suspension that he had. It's that after that happened, it's that we have to rely on Jonah Romano now. We have to rely on, like, I mean, Orion Kirkering will be okay. I think there's no. I think he's finally got his groove back after what he had. But if you have to rely on Romano to close out a game in the postseason, I gotta say no. I just
Yeah.
it's gonna give me a little bit of a gut feeling, like not as bad as Brad Lidge did in 2008 because he was perfection all year, and I was waiting for like, oh shit, like he's gonna give up a like kind of like a like kind of like feel like when's that other shoe gonna fall, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time too, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you have to go out, I mean, this is the thing that Dabrowski has to do in the trade deadline is that you have to look at this bullpen right now and say, okay, what's going to be a piece that will fix this bullpen in those months that Alvarado is not going to be there. So that's going to be the one thing that's going to be the most important key, is
Yeah.
that if you find ways to like nurse Jose Alvarado suspension. And then in later months, you got Clase to close it out. Maybe I'll feel better about that too.
Yeah, for me, it's like, okay, get Alvarado back. You're going to welcome him back with open arms, so to speak. But you're going to also kind of put
True.
into the perspective that you can't rely on Alvarado. Like, he's just a fresh
Thank you,
arm.
Mike. Appreciate it, buddy.
He's just a fresh arm at that point. So, but if you try to lean on him and rely on him too much,
Mm-hmm.
then what happens when you get to the playoffs? You don't have them then. So now you
Right.
have this thing that you're reliant on, and it's much like what you're saying about what we had to do once he got suspended.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to move pieces around into roles they're not accustomed to being in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jordan Romano was a closer. This is true, but he wasn't a great one either.
Nope.
Like that's the difference is that I when his role when Alvarado was still, a part of this team, he was the setup man, which is
Right.
fine. I can be I said it earlier. If Romano is the middle reliever or a possible setup, I mean, I still think Kirkring is your setup guy at this point, but you still need a guy who's going to be a closer. You got to get a guy that's going to close the door and keep it shut.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't rely. You can have Alvarado as a fresh arm for those, handful of games, but you can't rely on him going in the playoffs.
No.
So it's going to be an interesting conundrum for the Phillies to deal with. Um,
And Mike
do,
Green says one time too. It says when Alvarado does come back, I will pitch him until his arm falls off. So I'm guessing he's still bitter about what happened with his with the
just
stair.
just
With the,
remember, Mike, you still have him for next year too. Like you
yeah,
don't want to pitch him so he's got to get Tommy John surgery. Then you're paying a guy who's just sitting at home. We don't
yeah,
need that.
yeah.
Uh,
I think he's being facetious, but at the
yo,
same
I
time
I,
too.
I get that, but I'm gonna ask you, James. So like,
Sure.
where do you see this team ending? Like, where do you
Hmm.
see that final? Do you see this as a World Series contender? Now
I
it's hard because we don't have
yeah.
all the pieces together. But
You,
if you had to think, okay, you get Class A and you get Quan and maybe you get another piece from somewhere else. Like, do you think that team is enough?
if you get Classe and you get Quan and you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get them, and they just come by and get you a World Series out of it, absolutely. Like if you get those two guys, that tells you all you need to know about what your outfield's gonna look like and what your bullpen's gonna look like too. So most importantly, anything like that. I mean, if you can get these two players and don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get them, like he pulls a Howie Roseman like the Eagles did with Saquon Barkley or AJ Brown, or even like hit a home run every chance he got. More than anything, Joe, that's the thing. Like Dave Dabrowski has to walk a mile and say, hey, probably give Howie Roseman a call saying, hey, how did you get Saquon Barkley? I'm trying to get Stephen Kwan, yada, yada, yada. Or trying to get Emmanuel Clase, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I mean,
That
the other part with Steven Kwan is that he doesn't have to worry about re-signing him.
right,
James, he's under contract until 20 or arbitration and whatnot until 2028.
exactly.
So like if you're Dave Dombrowski, you have
Why?
control and you have to figure out how to make that work, that deal work. For me, I see this team as I've seen it all season long. 92 to 93 win team. I see this as a Super Bowl. I see this as a World Series contender because their lineup dictates that when their lineup is good, they're dropping 13 runs on a team like the Giants. They're dropping like 11 runs on other teams. They're punishing teams when they're working in full throat. That being said, the biggest deficits for the Phillies is two things. Number one, their bullpen. Number two, getting inside their own head.
Right.
You have to figure out how to manufacture runs once you can because you have no problems manufacturing hits. We have the hits leader in the major leagues with Trey Turner. This is
Mm-hmm.
a guy, you know, that for all intents and purposes, this team having the amount of hits they do this season should have way more runs than they do. And I get it. People are like, well, tell you, they can't play small ball. No, that's not the point. Because you could tell a batter to bunt and they don't bunt. You could tell a player to be aggressive on the base paths and get thrown out at home or third base. That cardinal sin has been broken more than once this season
Mm-hmm.
by these players on this team being thrown out at third and being thrown out at home. And
Mm-hmm.
that's got to end. You can't play like that and play that recklessly like that come playoff time. But this, in my estimation, if you got Stephen Kwan, if you got Class A, if you shored that up, if you got another piece, you have you don't give up the farm. You still have a Otto Kemp who's still playing pretty well. He was a pleasant surprise in my mind. And so you have some of these pieces still there. Yeah, this is a World Series contender. And to
Mm-hmm.
be honest, look at like how they have handled some of the NL. For the most part, they have handled the NL.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that that's going to change much in the playoffs. It's going to be when they get to the World Series. Are you going to face like the Houston Astros again and have the same kind of replicated result as you did in 2022? Or are you going to face like a team like the Yankees where they're just going to out hit you
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to have a replication of the '09 World Series? Like there the fear for me isn't the Dodgers and it's not the Braves and it's not the Mets and it's not the Giants or the Padres or the Cardinals or it's not anybody in the NL, the Cubs. It's the AL. It's that team that could, I mean, the Tigers are dangerous right now.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, when I talked about the record that we had at Oracle Park, Tom McCarthy brought up that we have a bad record in Detroit, and of all places.
Yeah.
So, that could be a World Series matchup, and it might not play in our favor. So I'm not. I am a firm believer in 93 wins. I'm a firm believer in this team being a World Series contender. And I'm a firm believer, at least I want to be a firm believer, that Dave Dombrowski will make a big splash at the trade deadline. Um, I'm going to ask you in closing kind of remarks here.
Sure.
Do you think Bryce Harper has turned a corner?
I would hope so. I mean, I want to be honest with Bryce Harper sometimes. I mean, it just feels like there's a couple games that we see him show up and show out, and there's other games that he does that he forgets. I won't say he forgets how to play the game of baseball, but overall, it's just that the one thing that's gonna bother me now, kind of like with Joel Embiid, is that yeah, he looks good now, and finally looks like he's reached the corner and looks like he's finally stepped up his game a little bit. Then I see, oh, he's on the 15-day DL or IL. I mean, because he has like either a bad thumb or his wrist just had a setback with his wrist, or like it's just that. Like that's gonna be like I'm gonna be like a little bit PTSD here about how many times with Harper, like how many. I mean, is it gonna stay for a full 162 game season? I mean, I'm not saying I really hope he's not gonna get hurt the rest of the year. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time too, it's just like I want to see him be back to 2022 Harper, where that Bellum at the bank was iconic, and he also was simply a real positive in that those Red October months, and said, "Dude, I love playing here." I want to have that feel again. That when the playoffs come around and Harper is ready to make the next step, that it feels like this is why he's here to be here for, and I think that's exactly why he decide to come to Philadelphia is those moments like we mentioned, like 2022, 23. Last year obviously it was a bad season all around, and 24. But I want him to go back to that same field that he had in 23, 22, and 2023, when it was like, I love being a part of this Phillies team. So that's going to be the most important key here too. Is if Harper gets to, if he needs to get hot right now, he's not going to get hot right now, obviously. But if he gets hotter as the postseason comes around, that's the most important key. That's what I'm looking forward to right now. As far as I'm concerned right now with Harper it's just that I want to see him. I want him to feel like that these next few months are not going to be a challenge for him, but I want him to get back to where he was in those months in the postseason, and like when the playoffs come around, he won't be like he won't be sluggish enough to see what he has in store too.
I mean, here's my thing. So there was an interview, a post game interview that Harper had um, the other day when he hit 4 extra base hits in San Francisco
Yeah,
when we won 13-0. So here was something I heard, and honestly, I it caught me off guard, but I was happy. Like a smile came across my face. I heard confident Bryce Harper again. I heard
that's the
confident.
word I want to say too. Is confidence. Yes.
I heard confident, a little bit cocky, which I'm okay with, because I felt like for the longest time I was hearing like the Joel Embiid Bryce Harper, the Joel Embiid version of Bryce Harper.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'm going in for treatment. I'm just trying to work on my body and like giving us the, you know, just base, answers and responses to his injuries, to his game, to his play, all that. It wasn't confident, cocky Bryce Harper. I want the confident, cocky Bryce Harper. I want the guy that's going to go and hit 2 home runs in a Braves series and look at Albies when he's rounding the bases
Right.
and staring them down. I
Right.
want
Or
him
Acuna. Or
right.
Acuna.
And well, it was Albies that was the one that
No,
said
no, no. It was Arcia, but Arcia is not with
Arcia.
them.
Arcia.
Arcia is not with them anymore. But you could
Right.
say Albies now. Yeah,
Yeah,
you could stare down Albies
yeah,
or
but like
Austin Riley or
yeah,
Austin Riley.
I want the guy that's got a little bit of that confidence, that swagger back. Listen, where this team goes, I mean, where Bryce Harper goes, this team goes. So if Bryce has his cape on, if Bryce has his confidence on, this team will have it all on. And so that's one of the reasons why I need to keep hearing the confident Bryce Harper. He literally was like, "I'm good. I'm really good." Yes, you are. Now just do it. Like, I'm glad you
Like
feel
Charlotte
that way.
Buff.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I am glad you feel that way. Good. Now show it. Show it to the world.
Now go out
Show
there
it.
and take it.
Yeah. And like that's the difference is that we I'm about to say something that people are going to be like, "No." After Bedlam at a bank, no, you can't say that. I don't think we've seen the best Bryce Harper. I don't think we've seen the best of Bryce Harper. Let me be more clear. I think in the playoff moments, he hasn't had. You would say the pendulum at the bank is the career defining moment for Bryce Harper. I don't think he's done yet. I honestly think he's got a couple more moments similar to Bedlam at the bank, but on a much bigger stage. I think he's got it in him, and
He's
because
gonna show it now.
right. I could sit here and say that all day long. But the problem is he's got to prove it. He's got to show it. He's got to come out and he's got to produce. And he's got to be cocky about it. Go, be cocky. Like bat flip, stare a pitcher down, as you're walking to first base, like ha ha ha. Like If they're going to plunk you, this is where you should take it as a bit of flattery too. I don't want them to get hit, but guess what? If they're hitting you, that means they fear you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to feed into that and take it to the next level. And the next level is making the pitcher and making the opposing team pay for the transgressions.
Yeah, and Larry checks in for the. He's been chiming in all for a couple minutes now, especially with the trade deadline, especially with a couple players in this too. So he says Harper has definitely not been the guy like you mentioned, like you brought up, and I think he has the talent, but will he ever be that talent? So that's gonna be the
Yeah,
question.
it's kind of like we want Mr. October, and we
Exactly.
expect Bryce Harper to be our Mr. October. But he's shown it in the past from time to time. But that being said, he hasn't shown it in the World Series where it matters the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be where his legacy is defined.
Well, I mean, since we all talk about the Flyers here more often a lot, but you have to have that Mr. Playoffs feel that Danny Briere was.
Hmm.
Same kind of philosophy too.
Well, and you also have to have a little bit of the Jalen Hurts mentality. You have to have the I want to win, and I'm willing to do anything to make that happen.
Keep the main thing the main thing. Exactly
Keep the
right.
main thing the main thing.
Exactly.
And the main thing with Bryce Harper is you are freaking Bryce freaking Harper.
Right.
Like, stop, using what your injuries are and your age and defining yourself. You're freaking MV3. So prove that. Make that evident to everyone in the majors. Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, those are all cute little pieces. But last time I checked, Shohei Ohtani went over when he came to Philly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I checked, Juan Soto was batting 220 to begin the season. You are Bryce freaking Harper. Now play like Bryce freaking Harper. And that I feel like is an appropriate message to end this show with.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone, please feel free that if you like this content and more, to subscribe to our channels and social media at Hardcore Sports Network. Hit that like and subscribe button. And also to our sister station, Stream Punk Entertainment Pennsylvania, PA, that is, on YouTube and all your social media platforms. Hit that like and subscribe. Plenty of content coming out. Me and James have a Philly Fame Legends that's dropping, I believe, today or tomorrow
Nice.
about Dallas Green. So there's new content all the time. But for James Scorza, I'm Joe Marks. This is the I'm sorry. This is the Pattison Ave Sports Show, and we are out. We'll see you all next Saturday.
See you guys later, and let's go Phils.